Hey YouTube, Chicken Shinobi here with S.H.Figuarts Greeed Week Day 3 with Gamel, everyone's favorite doofusface. That's a real word. So, yeah, the box is exactly like the other one except with Gamel on the side and the gray metals or white metals or black metals or whatever color you want to classify them as. I classify them as gray because that's what that color is. So here is Gamel. And I don't really know what to say about this guy exactly. I mean, in the show he was a complete moron. And was madly in love in a motherly type way with Mezool, but we'll get to her tomorrow. But Gamel was a pretty interesting design, a very hulkish character. He was the brute of the Greeds, and it really shows in his design. He's got probably one of the biggest Figuarts bases ever. Stands like things like Rock Bison. But he is huge, and because of that, he has some flaws. And mainly the fact that he can't move for crap. He does have head articulation, and it does go all the way around, so that's a plus, except he kind of limits himself in the vertical motion. This giant piece right here does go upwards, so you do get quite a bit of arm articulation, all things considered. You can't do a full rotation, obviously, but he's actually not that bad. Everything else is questionable at best. This section is on a lot of separate joints, but it doesn't open quite enough, and his thigh armor is just so thick that you can't really get much more of a spread than about that. And the thigh swivel is practically non-existent. You have a little bit in there, but it reminds me a lot of the SIC thigh swivels, to where the armor's just so thick you don't really get in there. Everything else, though, is not that bad. His ankle joints down here are just a simple ball and socket joints, so they are a little bit loose. Same with the toe joint right there. But you do get the double joint at the knee. We already went over the thighs. The waist movement is pretty much nil. You get a tiny bit of ab crunch right there, but this large piece back here kind of hinders everything, and you can kind of see it doesn't line up properly, and it's kind of hard to get it to line up exactly. So hopefully that'll stay a bit. Double joint right there, but again, the articulation is kind of hit and miss, particularly in there because of this large piece right here on the arm. You kind of have to squeeze a little bit to get the full use of the double joint right there. And yes, that joint is black on a white arm. People can complain now. But I really do like the design of Gamel, and I like the way he did translate into a figure. The articulation isn't that bad, all things considered. It could be better, but then they'd have to take some liberties with the design, or just the way that the figure functions, and I would rather have a nice-looking, slightly less functional figure than a fully functional figure that looks like poo. So I am glad they did it the way that they did. The sculpt and paint is absolutely gorgeous, and probably one of my favorites of the 4 Greeds that were initially released. Just because you do get a ton of design in all of his little crevices and everything. That was weird to say. But right up here with the, I think it's supposed to be the elephant tusks right here that are cut off to make like a little battering ram or a gun, looks really, really cool. And the wash that they use to go from the black to the white and the gradient right there looks beautiful as well. So you do have a lot of nice silvery details back here as well, and the spike right there is done really nice. So everything on Gamel looks absolutely great. Unfortunately, looking great is where the fun stops, because there's no more fun in this figure, because all he has are these hands. This is all the accessories, these 2 hands. He's basically Agito ground form. He's got these 2 hands, that's it. Nothing additional, just 2 relaxed hands so he can hold his head and go and stuff. Because that's fun. He does come with the Greeed Tamashii Stage, obvious. This is the same stage that all the other ones come with. but he does come with it. However, he does not come with any larger ports or anything of the sort up here. So what does that mean? It means you can't use it for crap. You can get it around him, sort of, except it won't stay on. You can kind of get him... No. It's going to make a fool of me. You can kind of get him in the air, sort of. Yeah. This is balancing Gamel. He's all sorts of fun. But yeah, you can't really use it, and his stance is so wide that he just kind of stands on the cell metals as opposed to in the cell metals. So this stage is pretty much pointless when it comes to Gamel. Normally I would do a bunch of posing montages, but let's just cut right to the chase because he's Gamel and there really isn't anything else for him to do except stand there. So Gamel is all sorts of awesome in sculpt, built in a figure that just doesn't have that much playability given the fact he comes with 2 hands at a stage he can't use. Plus the limited articulation hinders the amount of poses you can actually do, so it's kind of hit or miss. If you did really like Gamel, then I do definitely recommend picking up the figure because the only other representation was a vinyl figure. So if you want something with at least some posability, then this is really the only option you got. But if you're looking for a little bit of the cheap route, the vinyl figures weren't actually that bad for the Greed, so I do recommend taking a look at those if you want a little bit of a cheaper option. You can find Gamel on the secondary market, but again, these guys are getting so old to where they're getting harder to find, and so the price has gone up a little bit compared to Ankh or Kyouryu or Edgy Greeds, to where they're actually a little bit cheaper than normal exclusive retail. So if you do want this guy and haven't picked him up yet, I do recommend taking a look at it now before he goes even higher in price. But you can find a good deal here or there. Not a bad figure, but not a particularly great one either. So you can check out shoukanshoubi.com for this updates, my reviews and hauls, and of course check out RiderThree-Rebels.com, the podcast bringing the latest token news in the craziest way possible. And of course you can buy S.H.Figuarts and more at CSToysJapan.com. So take care and have a great one. Bye.